Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It's season 4 of the Midtown Madness Podcast. Once again, we are brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Pete, I don't know what else. What else can I say about Two Men in a Garden? We're coming up on the end of their second year. Backing the podcast. And they're a great local company. They make an unbelievable product, a fresh product, a simple product, one without preservatives, all that jazz. You can get it delivered to you nationwide for $9.99 flat rate shipping. And it's just a great salsa to have, whether or not you're entertaining a lot at home or you just like to have some chips and salsa to snack on. It is the perfect thing to keep around your house. Get any of their local or any of their products at any local grocery store or online at twomeninthegarden.com, which if you're particular about your salsa, that's where you want to go. Follow them on social media at Two Men Salsa, and that's on Instagram and Twitter. Pete, we got our first look at the 2024-2025 St. Louis Billikens at the open practice Monday the 22nd.
We sure did, Zach. And I want to shout out right away you and Steve Rogers for bringing us some video of that event, because
he really outdid me, and I'm kind of upset with him.
Well, I didn't know about his until after I watched all yours, so I wound up.
I didn't either. By the way, I will say I want to apologize to Steve because I stopped and I patted him on the shoulder, and I realized kind of the way I patted him on the shoulder was like tapping him over the back, like this way, like pulling him away from where he was talking, because he was talking to someone. I just meant to pat him and just be like, "Hey, what's up?" And he turned around, and then I stopped as if I needed to say something, and I just walked away. I was very awkward. So I got to apologize to Steve for interrupting him and his conversation there. But yeah, unbelievable video.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. You had the first and second periods of the scrimmage. He also added the third, and then he did things like he also threw in the intros and Schurte's remarks and things like that as well.
He was,
he
did it. He was holding his phone. He was not he didn't have one of those anything set up. He was holding it the whole damn time.
You could have fooled me. I mean, we've had many broadcasts that weren't as high definition, as smooth, and everything that he provided. So shout out to Steve Rogers again for providing those. They're on billikens.com if you want to check those out. But man, oh man, really good for me. Of course, I had planned, it was midnight. I'm going to bed last night, and then I'm like, oh, let me see what Zach posted here. Wound up watching all of yours. Wound up watching everything Steve posted. I fast forwarded a little bit when it was free throws or timeouts or whatever. And sure enough, I'm in bed at 1:00 because I spent an entire hour just plowing through what you guys had posted. But it was great. It was great to see. It was our first live look at this team, Zach. And what are your general thoughts on how the event was run, how they set it up, how was the crowd, all that kind of stuff?
I thought it was great. I mean, obviously, I will complain to the end of the earth. They give me an extra hour to get there, 6 o'clock, 5:30 even would be fine. But no, I thought it was a great event. Well done. Insanely well attended, I thought, for the time in the day. I got to the Fred Weber lot, probably 4:57, and it was almost full. And I found one space. People started parking down by the loading docks. If you ever come in the Fred Weber lot, you'll pass the loading docks on your way to the lot. And then, so people started just pulling up short and parking there where you would see tour buses and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I think part of the lot was still blocked off. And of course, the Champion Center kind of cannibalized part of the lot as well, I think.
Right.
I think so. I'm not, don't quote me on that now.
No, on the way that the sort of invitation announcement was written, it said you could enter through Gate B or through the Champions Center. Were you
Mhm.
able to walk through much of that building? How did that work?
I walked through, so you would go in. I walked in the Chamber Center. I almost went through that like muscle memory, that little door to the like that door that everybody used to walk in.
Yeah.
But yeah, straight through the Champion Center. You go in, you go up the stairs back the other way. So like you would come in and then have to turn around and go back.
Right.
And then you get up to the uh where the Billiken Hall of Fame is. By the way, move that Hall of Fame and put it somewhere where people pass. Um, and then you go through there, and off to the left there, there's actually that's where the sports psychology part of the departmment's at
Okay.
is it now that hallway. Their offices where it used to be windows looking out are now offices brand like right off that hallway into
Okay.
the going
Got it.
into the concourse.
Was it now you had been in the building before, right? Like oh, that was your first time. Okay.
Yeah, that was first time. I'm
Got it.
not allowed in there. I don't think.
Your photos by the door.
Yes, kind of did walk in. I was like,
Like you're getting away with something. Yeah. And then you took off your novelty mustache and sat down in
yes,
your seat once you got in
yes.
the arena. So okay, so we get to I guess they did some warm-ups and drills and things like that before the scrimmage, but not too much.
Yeah, so I mean, I got there pretty close to go time, and there was still probably 10-15 minutes from the time I got there to the time they actually started. Well, they blew the whistle, and then they did the introductions, and that was about 15 minutes after I got there. And then the introductions were funny, obviously, because Jimerson was introducing himself, and that was
Yeah.
very funny. But yeah, I thought it was a great event. I really gotta to give them props at the end. They kind of put the players in four corners of and actually people came onto the floor and the players did a really good job of spacing out
Hmm.
because they didn't have time to get to the tables. So like Avila was under one basket, like Jimerson was at the other basket. Then you had a couple guys sprinkled throughout the floor. And I just thought it wasn't much of a cluster at all. It was very smooth. I thought everybody got pictures taken, uh, autographs. Shirts made a point to say that they would stay there as long as it
Yeah.
took to get everybody signed, but please be mindful of, others, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah. Yeah, I was really impressed with the way everything was put together. Got to see Tate, say hi to him, and obviously stop by BK. Doug Magelhaga was there. Dougie
Doug
Mack.
Mack. He was
The good Doug Mack.
yeah, he's great. I man, he our time overlapped at SLU and Tony Breitbach, who
Yes.
if you're a SLU person at all, you got to follow him on Instagram and Twitter. He's just such a positive dude.
Mhm.
I guess he recently hung out with Doug Mack, so he's popped up twice a couple times recently.
That sounds like the greatest Billiken hang.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially if
Breitbach
you're my
and
age. Yeah,
Dougie Mack. Oh,
for sure. Yeah,
I
those guys are SLU through and through.
I do love a good couple beers with Tony B.
Yeah,
I
yeah, the
do. I
best.
enjoy that.
So we get to the scrimmage, Zach, and
Mhm.
they played, white team, blue team. It was basically just the available scholarship players, right? So Warlick is still hurt. He was on the bench. And then you had the guys who we've talked about before, Pikaar and Brockhoff, who are over, who haven't made their way back from Europe yet, where they just finished that FIBA event. So you've got 10 players, basically, the walk-ons on the bench as well, but they didn't really
It
play
it
from what
looked like
like just right at the very, very end.
uh tw- um
Holmes
got,
got in.
Holmes got in.
Yeah.
Warlick was actually not available.
Right. Yeah. He's still recovering.
What is he? I
Ankle.
Okay.
Yeah. He had an ankle issue.
Okay.
They said he'd be out until August.
Okay. Prayers up to Mitch Hedberg. I'm gonna run that joke into the ground, people. Just strap in. Strap in. But no, I had a hard time. It was very weird. I will say, just kind of not weird in a bad way. It was just odd to be there, and the voice that comes out of the microphone the speakers when talking is not Travis Ford anymore.
Yeah.
It's jarring. It's been it was 7 years, 8 years?
It was 8 years.
8 years. So you're like, oh, this is weird. But it was Bover versus Gaetano, I think. Gaetano.
Mhm.
But Brett puts in Bill Gaetano look kind of the same. So it's a toss up on which one it actually was. I'm just guessing at that point.
Bover is pretty obvious though.
Yes, you cannot mistake Bover for anybody.
And I had read before I actually watched the clips that he's quite animated over there.
Dude, it was so funny because you were sitting there, and I mean, it's an arena that looks like a Jim Cruise exhibition crowd, and it was more of like a halfway through COVID crowd,
right?
So you could hear everything.
Yeah.
And you could hear both coaches at the same time yelling at their players, telling them to go here, go here, go here, go here. But it was like, it was just a very funny. There were a few laughs out in the audience, but my favorite thing to do though, yesterday was heckle the ref.
So who was the ref? Was it?
They were local refs.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. I didn't recognize them, but yeah, clearly they had brought him in.
Yeah, call a foul. Give him one of those.
Right. I thought they called a pretty good scrimmage for what
it was. A little loose. It was a light whistle. There were light whistles out there.
It was
like USA at the end of the South Sudan game.
Yeah,
a lot of leeway.
Just keep it going, keep it moving,
yes.
Keep the clock going. So we start getting the general impression, Zach, of what we saw on the floor. And,
I want to say, first of all, the first thing to notice was Isaiah Swope and Gibson Jimerson.
Yeah.
It was, from go with, I think someone talked about they had Jimerson, Swope, and Avila on the same team. So, that was just, look, I'm going to say it out loud, and you can hold me to it. One of those two is going to shoot 50% from three this year.
So when we've had people on, like I think we said when we had Jack on a few weeks ago, and I told him I was less concerned about Jimerson's volume than his percentage, and that's what I'm going to be looking for this season because he's going to get better looks. And I think that he's going to be, above 40% and really put all of our 3-point records way out of reach.
Yeah.
But watching that scrimmage yesterday, I think I may have undersold what he can be capable of because I think he had 11 or 13 points in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was
the
crazy.
time the ball spent in his hands was probably about 4 seconds. Because he was getting looks that he just didn't get before. And
somebody asked me, why do you think Jimerson came back? Or were you surprised that Jimerson came back? I go, no.
He is going to feast. I was going to get to this, when I got to some of my thoughts, but man, oh man, you're not kidding. I think even all the people who have posted about what they saw last night, I think he's the most underhyped.
Yes, because
he's not new.
And I think people expect it in a way, not necessarily what he did last night, but you see him shoot, you make a three, you're like, okay, yeah, that's what Jimerson does. Crab cakes in football, that's what Maryland does. He
made a lot of them. He was scoring quickly.
Yes.
He was scoring efficiently. He missed a couple. Tried an up and under layup that didn't get it, like stuff like that. But like, if he's going to get those looks from three, look out, so we clearly
and then Swope.
Okay. Swope. Say more about Swope. I want to hear what you have to say.
There were so many former Billiken vibes among that team yesterday. And that one was so much Kwame vibe. Like his little step back three was just because because watching those Majerus teams, Kwame was really the only one that was kind of given that green light to pull up like that, or like one on one and then pull up.
Swope is quicker than Kwame was, though. I
Oh,
mean,
sure. Oh, no, I'm just saying the
yeah,
vibe.
the vibe for sure. I mean, he did pull up. He pulled up from really deep a few times too. Maybe a couple times it wasn't the best shot, but a heat check is a heat check, and I'm fine with it.
There was
Uh,
he hit a very
yes,
deep three.
yes, he did. I remember that one clearly. And when he hits the shot, man, it seems like there was never any other possibility. Like,
What was the shot he made? Was that a really long three, or was it like an off balance three? And he just like he was Jordaning it up out there.
it may have been that long one. But yeah, he's you see what I mean. Like he's a guy who shot more threes than Jimerson last year, made more threes than Jimerson last year.
Which is
One of the
nuts.
higher volume shooters in the country. To have both of those guys in your starting five is just so fun to think about, especially when you've got Avila, creating space for them and just different kind of looks for them. But Zach, there's a fourth guy who seems to have emerged
Well,
as
I mean,
what
there's a
looks like a pretty obvious starter.
I mean, I don't. There's two guys you could be talking about here.
Oh, really? Okay.
There's
Well, I'm
absolutely two guys, but I will go with who I think you're talking about,
yeah.
and that is my new favorite Billiken, Kalu Anya.
I loved what I saw from him. So this was one where I was seeing a ton of hype about him and Swope in particular. And Swope we just covered, and he's small and lightning quick and can shoot from anywhere. And pass too, by the way. But Anya, Zach, I thought was so clinical and decisive in his moves and his scoring. And I think somebody compared
I said he.
Swope
Oh, I was good. Never mind. Go ahead.
Swope to Perkins. Somebody said that we haven't had a bucket getter. Who was that? Was that Pitlick? Yeah. Pitlick says we haven't had a bucket getter like Swope since Perkins. But I kind of thought Anya had a lot of Perkins in that when Perkins got the ball, he had that like quick twitch decision making. Like he was gonna score it as fast as he could. And Anya just really seems like
So the same as Perkins, but different.
Perkins, but different. I think both of them are different players than Perkins.
Because,
like
but I think bucket getter automatically defaults to a guard.
I think that's fair. But for one, I think the, I'm not the first to have made this point, but there is a sort of flattening of their heights. Like it seems like everybody is like
It's very weird.
6'5" to 6'7". So Anya isn't as big as a true big. Like, yeah, can he play a four? Sure. But he kind of looks like a three out there to me at the same time. So that's it's a little amorphous what he actually is on the offensive end. And I think he can guard a three or a four on the defensive end. But I'm just saying, like the decisiveness from when he gets the ball,
Yeah.
he's going downhill or he's making the shot. Like he's just really
See, I would have
fast
never
decision maker.
I would have never thought to compare him to Perkins.
So who? Well, I mean,
first of all, I think he looks like Armando Baycott, but I don't know if you could see it from the video, but he has like the hair,
yeah.
which I want to talk about hair, which is a weird transition.
And that's even with Dylan Warlick sitting out.
Yes. There's some good hair on this team. But one player who's no longer utilizing the hair, and we'll get to that. But anyway, Anya, I thought he had a lot of, it kind of reminded me of a Linson in that he's very, very, again, you talk about clinical, quick decision making, smooth. I just, I thought he was, I liked his defense, honestly, better than anything.
I think he felt like he had a point to prove on the defensive end almost. And he was guarding Avila at times. I think Casey was too. I think they both really relished the opportunity to guard him and kind of show off a little bit. And it's going to be interesting to see Avila against guys who don't go up against him in practice every day. But those two clearly had something to prove against him.
Yeah, I really enjoyed. I actually thought Avila was like pedestrian in this one. I mean, like scoring wise, right? He made some good plays.
His shot wasn't falling.
Yeah. but I really enjoy it. Was something about there was something different in the air with Kaluanya than we've seen. I I can't like it's just something different about him. I don't know how to describe it. There's some swagger, there's some, there's a little there's a little edge to him. Like a give me that shit. Like in like a fucking block. Like that's that kind of edge to him, it feels like.
Yeah, I can see that. And when you talk about Linson, I kind of think of that just I think it's a downhill scorer mentality,
Yes.
right? Like I think that's kind of what it is. I think he's the player that I kind of wanted Javon Pickett to be. Like
Wow.
I know Pickett's still kind of more of a wing,
Yeah.
but Pickett was a good rebounder, and double digit scorer at
That's what I liked
ECU.
about him too. I thought he was very physical in the paint, and
Yeah,
I liked it.
because I think rebounding is definitely an area of concern for me,
Sure.
this season with this team. If I'm looking for things to worry about, but it's kind of what I wanted Pickett to be was kind of a combo, forward wing kind of player, and who was a good rebounder and who could be like a 10-7 kind of guy on most nights. And
I think you're
um,
referring to Jordan Goodwin.
well. Goodwin's his own thing. Unclassifiable as far as I'm concerned. He's his own thing. But Anya, he averaged, under 10 and 8 a game at Brown. It was like 9 point something points and 7 point
Yeah.
something rebounds. So it's not like he put up crazy numbers at Brown, very good numbers. So you don't always know how that's going to translate up, but man, I really see it with him. I think he's absolutely a starter, and he's going to be versatile. And I love his mentality in this system, if that makes
Is
sense.
this his what year is he?
Junior, he should
Okay,
have
I'm
he'll have 2 years.
goodness gracious.
Yeah,
Then I'm really this might be the steal of the portal
it's sure at this point kind of
in the
feels that
A10
way.
at least in the
Yeah.
A10.
Swope is a 1 year player. Johnson's a 1 year player, but everybody else has more than that.
Avila, I guess you could throw in Avila, but like
He's got two.
no, I
Yeah.
know, but I'm saying as a
Oh, in
steal
terms
of
of
the
a steal.
class.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I really think that like I've said it before. That I really think the market for transfers is going to be that pipeline from the Ivy League.
Yeah. I
I
think
think the
there's a lot
Ivy
of good
League
talent.
is
Yeah.
there's a lot of great talent, a lot of really intelligent basketball players.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. He was really, really impressive. But there's another guy, Zach. Okay. Like I think I know who you're
yes,
gonna say now. Who's the other guy who you think has a chance to be a starter and maybe you wouldn't have thought going into last night?
that would be Josiah Dotzler.
Yeah.
Um, I love this kid, and I can absolutely see why Creighton fans were so bummed to see him transfer.
Yeah.
By the way, his whole family drove down for this.
They seem like quite a unit, man. Like that
Yeah.
family. They're like just a big supportive bunch. But yeah, to come in for an open scrimmage, that's wild.
By the way, congratulations to him on his nuptials. I don't know if we covered that.
We did. We talked. It was a couple months ago,
Uh,
when he came in, and that was right around the time that
oh
he
yeah, yeah,
was coming to
committed.
campus. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
I know what a whirlwind, but he seemed to me, and I'm not the only one who said this. We'll get to some of the other comments people left us later, but he looked just so locked in.
yeah,
Like he's another guy. He plays for a guy who played 77 minutes, I think it was, in his whole freshman year at Creighton. He looked so confident.
yeah.
Um,
I absolutely I thought he had a little Malik Yarborough in him when he'd be overly aggressive, but I love
yeah,
the aggressiveness. I love the fearlessness. It's it feels like somebody got in his ear and said, "Hey man, this is a time you can prove yourself early. Set the tone."
yeah.
And maybe you're looking at a spot, you know.
Yeah, and I think more to what you were saying before is I think he tried to do too much on some of his drives.
Yeah.
Like he tried for kind of the sensational finish, or maybe one step too far, or maybe he had a pass before the dribble into traffic or whatever, but he looked good on in his shot. He looked really confident. He looked ready. He just kind of had that look about him, Matt, is it Rocky or Rocchio? I want to
Rocchio.
Rocchio
Yeah.
said something about like the look of a lefty guard, right? Like he's got that lefty guard thing
He
where
loves
everything's a
a
little bit
lefty. That's
different.
what he
He
said.
loves a left-handed guard, and that's him. But his shot looked really smooth. He moves the ball around, and he's got good size too as a guard. So I think there's some versatility at both ends there as well. Really liked what I saw out of him, and I wonder because I didn't see as much last night out of Kobe Johnson, who's a senior, who's a veteran player, who's a guy who coming into this I would have expected to be that fifth starter. But Doetzler has the potential either to be that guy or to play his way into it for sure. Maybe we see kind of a platoon in minutes between those two, but he looks like a pretty certain sixth man to me right now, at the very least.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about him. I think with Kobe Johnson, I wonder if kind of the unique look of a guy like Doetzler and kind of what he was doing in his
Sure.
aggressiveness, might have made him stand out as opposed to Kobe.
Yeah.
But
He's a little taller. His athleticism, I think, comes through a little bit more. Now Johnson is not a guy who really stood out a lot to me last night, but he was solid. I think his defense is going to be important. He's got really long arms. He's a really experienced player. We know that. There's going to be a learning curve with this system, for a guy who was at West Virginia before and is playing a different way now. But I think I still kind of look at him as the probable other starter, at least in the beginning of the season. That's what I would expect. He played pretty big minutes in the Big 12, and even though his numbers weren't great, I think there's enough there to be kind of a steady presence in an A10 backcourt. But another guy, Zach, another transfer who came in and didn't see a ton from in this scrimmage was AJ Casey.
mhm.
And I wonder if you agree or disagree with that.
I did. I noticed him because it's the one player, the transfer that I've seen more of than anybody, I guess, pictures wise.
Uh-huh.
Like you got all that stuff when he committed that they were reuniting. So you got
Yeah.
all these pictures together. So I've seen him and I knew what he looked like going into this, but once the action started, man, I got nothing on him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's certainly just
Also, I do want to be clear that I watched much of this practice through a phone. So
yeah, you took one for the team. I would say he scans as a role player on this first scrimmage, but like there's a lot of time
he's
between.
also young, isn't he?
He's young for his class. He's he's on a new team, and we're talking about a team that's just come together, and this is July, right? Like
Yeah.
they're limited this time of year in terms of how much they can actually practice together. So it wasn't just Casey. There was a lot last night that looked a little raw, a little discombobulated at times, and you're seeing a midsummer team with a new coach and a lot of new players. And this looks a lot different by the time October rolls around. I can assure you of that. We're just kind of seeing the raw material in this scrimmage for sure. But two other guys, Zach, that I want to ask you about is Larry Hughes and Kellen Thames, and where you think they are and where do they fit in right now?
So first of all, I need to talk about their choice of hairstyle because I'm upset at Kellen Thames for ditching the long hair. I really was a fan of that look. Larry's hair looks awful lot like Jordan Goodwin right now. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So like I looked at him, I go, that looks like Jordan Goodwin from behind, even with
Yeah.
his shooting form and everything. It's kind of similar. But no, I don't know what to make of Kellen Thames right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's put on a ton of weight. He doesn't look like the same guy. Obviously, he cut his hair too. So it's very confusing. But I didn't see a lot out of him other than a couple turnovers.
Mhm.
Some free throw shooting that I thought was not great looking. A 3-point shot that wasn't great looking. I don't
He
know.
he had a couple really good rebounds, and I think I'm thinking of one finish. I can't remember if it was a layup or a putback up and under. I know he had one finish around the basket that I liked. I think you're right in that he seems to be adjusting to a bigger frame. And that's, hopefully that goes smoothly, and he can keep his health through that adjustment as well. Hughes also looked a little bit bigger to me as well. I don't know. I mean, he
Yeah,
seems
I
both kind
will
of like
say,
taller and thicker.
I will say both of those guys I did not recognize.
They came into this program really lean, and I think
Yeah,
that's how a lot of us still kind of see them mentally. And then you see them out there yesterday, and it's like, oh, these guys are juniors now. They're bigger. It
yeah.
was, it, you
They're
know, it
bigger.
was,
They're stronger. They have more
yeah.
facial hair.
It's, I mean, for real. I mean, it's they're grown men now, man, and it looked a little bit different, but they are certainly adjusting to a new system in addition to whatever they've done physically in the off season. I also completely disagree about the hair as well. I like it high
What?
and tight. I like it high and tight. What can I say? Um, I myself got cleaned up last week,
Yeah, looks
so
good. Hey.
thank you. But yeah, so they're a work in progress, and I think there's definitely a grace period that they deserve, to be given. So they're not as easy as like a plug and play as Jimerson, right, in this system. So that's just something I want people to kind of keep in mind and give them a little bit of a grace for a while. So yeah, I think I've kind of shared most of the observations that I had noted, making sure that everyone knows Jimerson deserves a ton of hype.
Oh,
Um, that Dotzler looked dialed in. I agree what everybody had to say about Swope and Anya. They deserve all that praise. By the way, they seem to have really developed a chemistry as well. Swope somehow knew Anya was right behind him and threw that alley oop off the
oh
backboard to him.
boy.
Like that
I was
was
so
one.
mad I missed that.
I was like, these guys don't know each other, 2 months ago, and now they're doing that. That was pretty amazing. Avila, just to kind of reiterate, I think he is who we thought he was. His shot didn't fall, so the scrimmage just wasn't something he dominated. But we kind of saw how things flow through him, how he creates for everyone else, even on a night where he's off a little bit. I think everyone is richer for the way the offense is run through him. So the lineup to me, like I said, looks like Swope, Jefferson, Avila, Anya, and I think Johnson for now, but maybe Dotzler. I think Casey, Hughes, Thames, and McCautry, who we haven't talked about yet, are kind of going to get those minutes off the bench. I don't think we're going to see Warlick, Pikaar, or Brockhoff much this year, and not just because those are the three who weren't available last night. I just think that's how it is. But McCautry, Zach, before we kind of get to other people's comments, did you have any thoughts on him? Yes, because like to me, he's got the frame, he's got the size, he's
Yeah.
got the athleticism.
I do
He,
remember saying that I do remember him making at least one really nice play.
yeah. So he does a lot of things. His shot didn't look great. I don't think he took a few from deep, and I don't think he hit one. But I think the long-term potential is certainly there, and it looks in the early going like he's probably going to be the freshman we see the most uh,
Yeah, I
for,
agree with
for,
that.
for now. Yeah,
So I do want to mention that we are going to have Matthew Rocchio on next week. So I want to skip his comments for this time around to let him kind
sure.
of give us, his thoughts on the Billikens. It was a bummer. I was really hoping to get him on tonight, but he had a prior engagement.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really because he was there. I was like, let's get Rocchio. He was not taking video the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's obviously great on the mic as well.
And a really, really smart guy too.
Yeah. Um, some observations from out in the Billiken Twitter from Billiken Twitter Discord, billikens.com message board.
Yeah.
Corey White, he said the combination of Swope, Avila, I like that we're just quoting random people, but it's awesome. But like,
These are not random people. These are diehards, man.
yes, no, I'm saying like, not, that's not what I meant. I'm
They're
sorry.
our people.
Yeah, they are our people, but like,
Yeah.
it's just like just quoting, like we're not quoting John Wooden or something,
It's a scrimmage.
Yes. So Billiken diehards we're quoting here. Great. I would say friends of the show at this point. as much
Sure.
as they interact with our Twitter. Corey White, the combination of Swope, Avila, and Jimerson is going to lead to a lot of open shots. Anya was impressive on both ends. This team can play fast and has depth.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with all of that. We retweeted that one, and a lot of people seem to agree with that as well. We got a tweet from Brendan as well, a little tweet thread. He said Kalu stood out the most to me, not only his size and skill, but he seems like the kind of player that involves himself in the offense in every way possible, and he's very vocal on defense. I liked what I saw. Dotzler was fun to watch, very active. Robbie is a great passer, but only hit maybe one shot. Kellen was flying around the gym in warm-ups, and we'll have a fun highlight reel after this season. Beauvais is very vocal. And the last thing he said, there were a lot of steals. Not sure if that was good defense or offensive miscues.
I actually
maybe a combination.
I thought there were some very, very good defensive plays. I thought the really the wake up, the Kalu Anya wake everybody up moment was his steal. I thought he stole it.
Yeah,
What was it? That pass out at the top of the arc?
he did, and then got down to the basket in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. I think that was kind of the welcome to St. Louis moment.
Yeah. Yeah, he's faster and more athletic than I expected, for sure.
Eric Pitlick, the Arch Baron Cup historian. Kalu Anya will be the starting four on day one. SLU hasn't had a bucket getter like Swope since Perkins, and there were no mid-range jumpers, just layups and three-pointers.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you mentioned from Eric, he had the comparison between Swope and Perkins.
Yeah, he did. And I think when I say Anya, I don't think of Anya as just a pure bucket getter. And I think that's right when you say that's usually a guard. I think about more of just the downhill mentality and the quick scoring mentality and trigger and all of that kind of stuff for sure. But Swope seems like a guy who's just gonna find ways to score.
He's a Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Sure.
You get the ball and go to goal.
Let him work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Andy Scott, long time friend of mine, Swope stood out big time. He's going to be a blast to watch with Robbie and Jimerson. Dotzler looks like a player, and Anya was great going against Avila. Hughes and Thames are still adjusting, and he thought there was a pretty good crowd last night too.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Let's see. On Discord, there was a consensus that Swope and Anya look fantastic. Swope drew comparisons to Kwame Mitchell and Chaz Williams. I think Billiken fans have every right or every reason to be excited about this.
Yeah, I think so, Zach. And it seemed like a fun night. It seemed like the vibes were good. It seemed like
were good.
People kind of understood that, hey, it's almost late July here, and it's early. They're limited what they can do in the summer. It's a new team with a new coach and a lot of new ideas being thrown at them. So with all of that being said, I still thought like there's a cohesive vision on display there coming together. And for the most part, I think you have the personnel to serve that too. So that's just really exciting because it's been a long time since I felt like there was a vision and a purpose to what we see on the floor with this team.
And I think we talked a little bit about the meet and greet already. Seemed like everybody really enjoyed it and seemed like it was run pretty well, organized well, and outstanding. I think overall, I don't really have much else to give out on the event.
Yeah, just thumbs up. A lot to be excited about, and we can't wait for more.
Yeah, they're selling Sour Patch Kids, I guess, at the concession stand, so that's nice. I had some of those. I stole some of them from a friend of mine. Thanks for those. There's some new offers out, Pete. We're looking at 2025 class offers. Is this any no, it's from Owasso, Oklahoma. No relation.
Okay.
No relation, right? To Steve Kerr.
No relation.
Okay.
No relation, as far as I know. But it's interesting, Zach, because what we saw the last couple of weeks in terms of offers was underclassmen, mostly local. And what we're seeing now is 2025, meaning incoming seniors, and mostly not local. The first one is Jax Kerr. He's a 6'11 center from Owasso, Oklahoma, plays for Team Trey Young. AAU, which is an Adidas three stripes brand circuit program. He's a long, obviously at 6'11, but he's really lean, skilled stretch big who scores on three levels. He looks a lot like Max Picard physically. If you need a quick visual there, he's a really effective post player with a lot of moves. He's got soft touch around the rim, strong instincts, smart passer, and he's a big time shot blocker on the defensive end. Good hands, good footwork, really coordinated, right? He's not a stiff at all for being a, really tall, skinny guy. Gets up and down the floor well. I know people love to hear me make that comment. He won a state championship as a junior for Owasso. That was just this past year. Other offers right now, he's got San Jose State, Indiana State, Green Bay, Sam Houston State, American, UC Riverside. So right now we look like a really attractive offer in his pool, I think. And you're on mute, Zach.
Of course I am. How about Devin Booker?
Yeah, when you have a name of an NBA superstar and you're also a basketball player, it makes you really hard to Google. I'll just say that much. Devin Booker. I don't know why your parents didn't have a little more foresight there, but
Yeah, at least go with an O.
right, right. It's spelled exactly the same way. And he's a 6'5 shooting guard from Cristo Rey Jesuit up in Philadelphia. He plays his AAU for Kalo Elite, which is another Adidas program. Really dynamic scorer, right? With good size and athleticism. He's got a quick release on his jumper. He consistently hits it from outside. And he's got a really strong first step. Tough to stay in front of him when he's going to the rim. He likes to dunk everything he can. Rebounds his guard position well. He knows when to make the pass so his shot selection ends up being pretty good for that reason. Other offers right now, he's got George Mason, LaSalle, Fordham, all from the A10. Mississippi State has offered, as has Virginia Tech, Temple, Penn, Hofstra, Towson, Drexel, Albany, Florida Gulf Coast, and High Point. So a lot up in his neck of the woods, but he's a really nice looking player.
We got Adriel Nyora.
Yeah, that's as close as I would get as well. He's also 6'5", but he's more of a point guard, and he plays at Winston-Salem Christian School down in North Carolina, where he transferred to from Canada type Top Flight Academy. He's originally from Ottawa, Ontario. He plays his AAU for Adidas, Brookwood Elite, another Adidas program. But as a point guard, he's really smart and creative with great size for his position, outstanding passer, great anticipation, Yuri Collins kind of instincts in that regard. He finds his teammates before the defense is ready, which makes him really effective in transition, crafty in the half court. He's a strong slasher who can really finish it, or he'll kick it out and find his teammates because he's kind of a pass first minded guard. Lockdown defender. He also rebounds well because he's big for the position. His other offers, George Mason, Rhode Island, DePaul, Mississippi State, Arizona State, Ohio, Canisius, and UC Santa Barbara are all in the mix right now.
We've got apparently a TikTok star coming up
Yeah.
next here. Jake West. I believe he has, let's see, J Dub has 1.4 million followers on TikTok.
I don't know anything about TikTok. I'm 41. I don't have TikTok. I don't want
Probably
TikTok.
a good idea.
But
Me neither. I don't either.
that seems like a big number, on TikTok. I don't know what he's doing to attract such an audience, but I can tell you this. He's a 6'2" point guard from Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania. He's small, right? He's listed at like 160, and that might be rounding up a little bit. He goes to William Penn Charter High School, and he plays for Team Final, which is a Nike EYBL program. He may be small, but he's really athletic. He's really quick. He's a scorer and playmaker in equal measure. Just lightning quick with his handles and his explosive first step. Fast in the open court, tough to get in front of. He's got great feel and vision. He's an efficient scorer with good range on his shot. So maybe he does some of those kind of flashy things that play well on TikTok. I don't know if it's basketball highlights. I don't know what it is.
It's a lot of dancing, my guy.
Okay. Well, I guess isn't that all
That's
TikTok
like
is?
a thing. I don't know what's going on. The only TikTok I know, and if you're a TikTok person, go find No Problem Gambler on TikTok. He you send him like a TV show with a game going on in the background. So like say you're watching The Sopranos and there's a football game on the TV in the episode, you send him that clip and he will figure out exactly what that game was and
Oh,
what
that's great.
like the teams, what exact game, exact moment. He'll usually find like the master footage of it. It's wild.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love stuff like that.
Yeah. So like that I will go to TikTok.com and I
To
will
watch that.
watch and I'll like binge it every 3 months. Like
Yeah.
every 3 months, I'll go check up and see what he's been up to. So go
Yeah.
check him out. He's great.
That's
Anyway,
fantastic.
this is Jake West.
Jake West, TikTok star, dancing point guard. Uh, he also has offers because we've covered what he does. VCU is there. Mississippi State, for some reason, we're offering all the same players. Don't know why. Rice, Charlotte, Penn, Buffalo, Coastal Carolina, Northeastern, Drexel, Lafayette, Loyola, Maryland, Siena, Fairfield, and St. Francis of Brooklyn. I think, we look like an attractive offer in that group right now. We'll see kind of what his stock does over the next couple of years. But understandably, I think a lot of bigger programs hold off on a guy of his size, unless he's just like a, generational level athlete at that kind of, stature.
I thought Jake West was the basketball pundit that's on Twitter. Or is that's something West. There's
Yeah,
what I can't think of his name right now.
there is another J.
Um
Yeah,
it's like a
it might
Jay
be two.
West.
It might be two guys whose names we're
Yeah.
combining.
The last one on this list is actually a refreshed offer, and that's David Aweezy.
Yeah, and so he's a 6'9" power forward out of I School of Lewisville, Texas, and Texas Impact AAU, which is an Under Armour program. Just got the refreshed offer today. He's got really nice length, a big frame. He's a big 6'9", right? He looks bigger than the guys who are listed at 6'8" or 6'9" on our roster right now. He's hard to stop inside. He's a load, but he's got good offensive versatility. He's got a range of post moves, and he has the ability to kind of put it on the floor too. He's added a ton of offers in the past 2 months. We say refresh the offer because he was a Travis Ford recruit. He was a Phil Forte offer originally, and our staff likes him and gave him a refresh. His full list of offers, though: Loyola Chicago, USC, Texas A&M, Cal, Utah State, Tulsa, Charlotte, San Francisco, UTEP, Appalachian State, Texas Arlington, and Abilene Christian. So a lot of Texas schools. The higher level ones like USC, Cal, Texas A&M, those are all older offers. So I do wonder about whether those are committable right now, but most of the rest of those are pretty new. So he's rising pretty quickly. He's the guy that I think Forte correctly identified early on as someone whose stock would increase over the next 2 years. So good on both staffs to get involved there. And then Zach, something kind of funny happened as we've been recording. I saw these pop up. We have two new offers. I don't know anything about these guys yet, but Keaton Wagler and Jaden Vance, not to be confused with a
I,
new vice
I
presidential candidate.
thought I was going crazy.
I
Wait.
was too. Yeah, I was too. Especially living here in Cincinnati. I was like, when I saw that, it was like saying, I was like, okay, all right, my Twitter feeds are getting crossed here or something. But but that is his name, and I don't know anything
I think
about.
that's the first time we've ever even like mentioned politics in any form on this show.
And we're keeping it neutral. I'm just
Oh yeah, no, it's
the
just I
dude's
thought
name
I
is
was
what it
going
is.
crazy because his name is Jaden Vance.
Yeah, yeah, it's very weird. So I'll have a write up on those guys soon, but unfortunately can't do that while we're recording.
Uh Apparently the women's team has is recruiting someone named Kamala Harris. So um Luke Walsh the saga of Luke Walsh. I don't think the saga of Luke Walsh is going to end this year or next year, to be honest with you, as it goes with St. Louis University. But as of right now, and I think as of at least 1 year, Luke Walsh will not be a Billiken.
He's definitely one of those guys who feels like this is not the last we'll hear of him, right? Like you're right. He's going to be a character in our story one way or the other over the next few years. I tweeted out, like, I've seen this story before. I've been a SLU fan for long enough. Luke Walsh committed to Carbondale, and he's going to drop 26 and 32 on us in 2 seasons. I remember Kent Williams and Darren Brooks, and I've seen this happen many times over before. I know how it goes. He released his top 7 this past week, and SLU wasn't on it. SIUC, where he ended up committing on Monday. SIUE, Lindenwood, SEMO, Texas Arlington, Northeastern, and Oral Roberts were all the others. So it was a pretty interesting list. He's one of the better shooters in the class, but I just think he's at that level of recruit, right, where a lot of coaches are going to hold off on him, and then they'll get him later out of the portal if they have to, if that's possible. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I always shudder when a guy like that goes to the Valley and very well might end up on our non-conference schedule sometime soon.
Yeah, I mean, we did get revenge with like your Kyle Cassidy's.
Yeah.
With SIU.
Sure.
A little Momo Cisse update. Pete, after committing to LaSalle a couple of months ago, and then backing out for unknown reasons, he committed to Green Bay. Doug Gottlieb.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty interesting. Right. I mean, like, first we think, oh, we're going to go up against him in conference, and then under mysterious circumstances, he and LaSalle part ways.
Somehow came in possession of a credit card. Doug Gottlieb promised an unlimited credit card.
I guess so.
As part of the NIL,
an offer you can't refuse. Yes. But yeah, that's an interesting landing spot for someone we didn't know what was going to happen to him.
To be fair, Green Bay this season is going to be appointment television. I think
they are.
Whether it's either going to be an absolute disaster or they're going to win are they in the Horizon League?
They are. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. I knew they were, but you just don't know anymore. Pete, let's look at the U20 FIBA World Cup. Talk to me first about Killian Brockhoff's tournament.
Yeah, so Germany lost to France in the round of 16 in Division A of the tournament. In 6 games, he averaged 11.4 minutes a game, 5.5 points a game, and 3 rebounds per game. He shot about 35% from 3 and 39% from 2. His stats are skewed a little bit by 2 games where he only played 5 minutes and didn't score in either. So he was a little bit better when he got some more minutes. But just kind of an okay performance as a role player. Germany, as I understand it, will remain in the higher division. I think they have kind of a promotion relegation thing in the 2 tiers. So they'll still be in the top tier next time in FIBA, and hopefully he'll play in that one as well.
Max Pikaar. He was playing with the Netherlands. Pete, run us down his tournament, please.
So the Netherlands ultimately lost to Ukraine in the Division B semifinals, and then lost again against Finland in the 3rd place game to finish with an overall record of 4-3, because they had gone, I want to say, 3-1 in group play and then 1 in the first round of the knockout round. So in 7 games, Pikaar averaged 26.5 minutes, 6 points, 7.3 rebounds, 2 assists, and just under 1 block and 1 steal per game. He didn't really shoot it well from 3, but he was 48% from inside the arc and had the 3rd highest efficiency rating on the team. And Zach, you probably know who had the 2nd highest efficiency rating on the team, because he's a guy whose name is quite familiar to us.
That would be Stefan Bussell. 8.6 points per game and 9.9 rebounds per game while shooting 58% from the field. Top scorer in the entire event was Czech player named Jacob Nechas. Nachos. I think it's Nachos. And we only mention that obviously because he's going to Duquesne.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting pickup there. And also if you're a Charleston fan, you have to love those numbers from Steph. Basically averaging 10 rebounds a game. It's pretty nice, you know. That's gonna come in handy for them.
Um, I want to talk about something. I'm kind of winging this into the notes because it only came up as a topic kind of today, late in the day, and
Yeah.
that's scheduling. West Pine Bills put out a tweet saying that they had heard that the last two games on the schedule are going to be Division II games and they'll be regular season games. If I read that correctly.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they had said one would be an exhibition and one would be a regular season game, right? Because we're in a jam, scheduling wise, but two in a season, Zach, is not ideal, I would say.
No, it's not. I thought there were some good posts in the Discord about kind of the rule, or is it in the contract, I assume? They have to have a minimum number of games at Chaffetz.
It's either in the contract or the way it was always framed to me is we need to hit a minimum number for season ticket holders, and that used to be 18. I think it might be 19 now. And that's any combination of, exhibitions, regular season games. So you've got your guaranteed 9 games from the A10. You're going to need to get 10 more one way or another. And that for us typically works out to 1 or 2 exhibition games, and then the rest regular season games, usually one of which might be a lower division team.
So I thought, there was made a point that they should just throw this, like they need to figure out a way to get around this. One of the solutions would be to figure out a way. Forget the minimum. Forget the minimum. I think there are a lot of fans out there that would be happy if you had one less game at home, but put yourself in a better position to succeed long term.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got maybe throw in a voucher, throw in like a concession voucher for the difference.
Yeah.
Per ticket.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I'm always in favor of playing the best schedule possible. We've talked before already about like the schedule that they have so far, and then the fact that it's kind of the result of power conference teams don't want to play them, right? Because they think they're going to be good, but they don't know for sure if they're like a Q1 or Q2 or Q3 game yet. And so they don't want to commit not knowing what level of a non-conference game it is, because SLU's not a buy game, right? You do a buy game, a team comes into your place, you're supposed to beat them, you get a win. Like that's what's supposed to happen there. But with a team like us, that's a different proposition for that kind of level of opponent. And so that's getting harder and harder every year as those teams are basically playing 20 game conference schedules. They're playing an MTE on a neutral floor, and then they'll have 1 or 2 or 3 neutral site games against other Power 5 opponents, but they're not doing home and aways anymore. And then the rest is just filled out with bye games. So if you're the worst place to be right now for scheduling, Atlantic 10, American, Mountain West, I would include, the Valley and a couple other leagues that are pretty solid, but they're not all just straight up bye games, right? And at the same time, they're not all year to year, they're not necessarily guaranteed quad 1 or quad 2 opponents that are going to help your schedule, and they're not going to crush you if you lose to them, crush your net rating, right? So that really puts us in a bind. And the only way to get out of that is to be a consistent winner year to year in this conference. Which is getting harder and harder to do, to be that kind of consistent program with all of those structural challenges in the game now. And so for a first year coach with an unproven team, he's kind of in an unwinnable position. So the way that they're getting around it is to get rid of all of the lower tier teams that are going to destroy your net. And we're playing a lot of teams in kind of that 75 to 150 range that are just quality opponents. We're going to have some quad one road games in there. And that's how they think we can have a respectable strength of schedule without scheduling power conference teams. The upshot of all of this is we've got 2 dates left to fill. They're home dates, and the last remaining challenge here is that you want buy games, but the prices are going way up because the lower conference teams now know the jam that we're in, right? They know they can get paid from a power conference team, or they're going to try and charge a premium from an A10 team or an American team or a Mountain West team, knowing that we have dates to fill. We have to do it. And the price keeps going up and up and up. And it's so it's getting ridiculous to get anyone to agree to come in and just be a buy game anymore. We don't have a whole lot of leverage in either direction. And I really feel shirts. I really feel their pain on this. But at the same time, I don't want to see, both Harris, Stowe, and Rockhurst in the regular season. If that's our exhibitions, fine. But like 2 of those in a regular season is kind of like, I like scoring
tough.
110, but man.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I definitely like the idea of trying to, get out of the Shea Fits minimum and roll with a road game. Or, again, so I think someone suggested pull together some money. Like, I don't know what you have to do, but get that money for the buy game.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's tricky. That's one that's supposed to be paid out of ticket sales, right? And we're definitely getting to a point where teams at our level are going to have to get creative. We're going to have to innovate, and I don't know what that looks like yet. But something's got to give with scheduling.
You know what is always, what never changes? We talk about these prices going up on buy games, but the price on shipping 2 men in a garden, it doesn't move. It stays there, $9.99 flat rate cross country.
Yeah, that's nationwide too, Zach. It's a great deal. The price on their salsas also hasn't gone up. They've stayed the same, and they remain as crushable as ever. Opened a jar of hot a couple days ago, and had
Some
to
like it
stop
hot.
myself. It is fantastic. It's just a fantastic product. When you think of just like a straight up good crowd pleasing salsa, theirs is it. I know I teased last week, like I want to get creative and think of a way to get some input on building my next shipment. I haven't quite figured out the format of that yet, but I still do want to do that to kind of see what people want to see me order. So we'll figure something out there.
Are you gonna
But
do a mukbang? Where you just sit there and eat your salsa and talk to the people? That's your side hustle now. Is you're just gonna.
as an avid podcast listener, I can tell you people love nothing more than hearing people eat on microphone.
It's weird. I'm telling you, this is a major thing.
It's a major thing.
People eating on YouTube. It's crazy.
You can say a lot on the microphone, but as soon as you chew, you're gonna get death threats. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the route I want to go down. But in the meantime, Zach's right. $9.99 nationwide shipping. 2meninagarden.com. Head over there right now. Fill up a box, and you won't be disappointed. We promise.
Billiken fans, really excited. This came together pretty quickly today, but we have a very special guest. He is one half of the St. Louis City soccer podcast, BallWatchingSTL. He is Justin Graham. He is a graduate of St. Louis University, a 2-year letter winner with the Billikens. Justin, welcome to the Midtown Madness Podcast. Finally got this. We tried, I think, last year, but we finally got it to work this year.
Yeah, no, happy to be here, and glad we worked it around today. I mean, it's a great day for the St. Louis Bills with coming in with City with some news, and some of the guys have already been playing in the upcoming Olympics. So I'm excited.
Let's talk about the first Billiken to make his debut for St. Louis City, and that is everybody's favorite little blonde, John Klein.
So Johnny Klein is one that I think he's always, and Jake and I always talk about it, an absolute workhorse, and you could see that when he came out of SLU. So it's a guy that I would say is always considered to be undersized, but still somehow just is a stat stuffer. When you look back at at what he did at SLU, especially the last season with that team, with Simon Becher and Patrick Schulte. He was a junior and he started all 20 games that he played in. He had 7 goals and 15 assists. Obviously, the 7 goals were just right behind Simon Becher, and the 15 assists far and above led the team. And so he led that team to the NCAA tournament. And I think that's one of those guys that he just kind of instilled that workhorse mentality throughout. And so when he came into City 2, he was always looking to make that bump up to the first team. And I think that's a big thanks to Kevin Kalish at SLU as well, the head coach there. I think he's one of those guys that is really trying to close the borders, which I appreciate for SLU. And with Klein being from Missouri, I think that was huge for him. So as a guy that's now in the first team for SLU, he's kind of been that utility guy. So when you think about that for the Cardinals, I guess more specifically, you think about guys that can kind of move around, play anywhere in the infield. You can kind of see that with maybe even Alec Burleson right now. But he is one of those guys that we have played underneath of Klaus up top. He's also played on the right wing. And then you'll see him last game, he almost played as like a fifth left back. So he's a guy that is just creative. And when he gets on the ball, it's just exciting.
So it sounds like they're kind of using him like a utility player, so to speak. But do you see him settling into more of a permanent kind of role with City, or right now is it just kind of plug and play because of all the injuries?
Yeah, I would say right now he was a perfect plug and play player. Just with the injuries, now you look, we have Teuchert coming over from Germany, who just made his debut against the Sporting Kansas City last weekend. Marcel Hartel, he's actually going to be making his debut probably this weekend or next weekend in the League's Cup, and those are guys that will also be fighting for a position with Johnny. And then when we look at next year, we have injuries that were season-ending for Celio Pompeo. Rasmus Alm has been out for a while. That's looking to come back. And then you look at, we also have Klaus, we also have Thor, and now we're signing Simon Becher. I think it's going to be a tough position for Johnny to play. And then you look at that. Also, we have our signing from this year, Jose Kojima. He's a guy that is very similar in Johnny's playing style, a little bit more undersized, but an absolute just motor. I think these guys are still conditioned like they're in college playing at Wake Forest and SLU, and they can just run for a full 90. So I think that is something that he may not be a starter, but I think he's a perfect guy to slot into a game when you need a spark. If you guys remember the Aziel Jackson of it all last season, I think Johnny, he can have that creativity, and I think he has a better finishing touch than what AZ did too.
What have you seen from him as he's kind of progressed through his experience? Has he kind of grown into it, or kind of just been that, steady presence?
I think he's kind of been that steady presence. I mean, so he's not new to City when you look at what he's done for City too. Last season, he had 13 goals and 4 assists across 23 full 90s played. This season already for them, obviously he's been playing more minutes for the first team. He has 5 goals and 2 assists across 12 full 90s played. So he kind of brought that up already. And I think that's what's great about what Hackworth is letting these guys do, is when he brings them up, their confidence is already kind of rolling. I think Johnny was killing it on City too. Jose Kojima just got drafted this year. They're getting the opportunity and they're showing what they can do. And I think with the playing style of this team, being someone that can just run and also knows not only just to run, but when you get the ball, what to do with it. He's not that guy that's just going to immediately take a guy on unless he's confident it's a 1v1. He'll turn it back out just like a veteran and pass it back around and recirculate if he can tell we're tired. So in my opinion, I think he's already been a great plug and play. I don't think it's really taken a lot of time for him to catch up to speed.
Do you think, do you think the switch to Hackworth at head coach or at manager? Sorry, I'm in college sports mode. At manager, do you think that is a positive or negative, or kind of a nothing burger in terms of John Klein's usage rate?
I would say just generally on the topic of that, I think it's hard to see Carnell go. Unfortunately, we had I think it was 4 games in our last 26. You guys know it through other sports as well. It's not always the manager's fault or the head coach's fault, but at that point, when you have a stretch like that, something's got to change. You're not going to fire Lutz or Diego at the top. You're not going to get rid of Berkey, fire the players. So I think it fell on Carnell there, but I do think that with Hackworth coming in, that was a guy that then knows Kojima, knows Johnny Klein. He helped them, and he had coached them in the season before for City 2. So he's known them for years now. And then, or I guess for Kojima bringing in this season, his son played with him growing up. So he's known these guys for a longer time period. And I think he has a little bit more trust of them. And I think it's a time period where you guys already mentioned it, where the injuries are there. So it's a perfect little match in a meet in the middle where Hackworth knows the guys and there's an opportunity.
When you talked about Klein's statistics, like his big statistical season with Becher, that was his junior year, right? And a lot of those guys moved on, and he had a lot of new guys around him his senior year, and his role really shifted. Do you see him maybe as some of the recent personnel moves on City lately? Could he kind of develop into that ultimate setup man again, the way he was his junior season at SLU?
I really do think so, and that which is so surprising to everyone. I think anytime any Apple guy gets on the announcing, and I have some other takes on that just in general, but they talk about his size, and it's like the guy continues to just impress and break down those barriers of like, you're too small, you're not quick enough. He's got the motor, he's got the skill, and I think he draws the attention now. It's like, oh, here comes a City 2 player. We can kind of back off until you back off him too much, and he plays a perfectly whipped ball in to someone streaking in like Thor or Sam when we still had him. So I do think that with these new moves with Toyhurt and Hartel, there's still going to be some openings. We still obviously don't have Klaus, don't have Thor's not really up to snuff yet. So I would say between him and Gajima, it's going to be a fight. And in my opinion, right now, Johnny Klein's winning
that. Justin, when you look at the news today that Simon Becher is headed to St. Louis City, it almost felt inevitable with the way things moved with his career. I think it was. I don't know why I just felt that he was destined to be back here.
I mean, it's a perfect fit. And I think it even shows that, obviously, where he came from in the Danish league, they're in their off season right now. So if you saw it, the announcement came today and he's already on the field today. So like the kid, he was just in St. Louis already. So it just made it that much easier. I was surprised with him getting drafted 16th overall by the Whitecaps that he got kind of moved out that quickly. I don't think I think they saw a shining spot to try to make money there because he does have one of the most incredible stats for MLS. He's the fastest player in MLS history to score his first 4 goals, doing it in a total of 87 minutes. So that's a guy where they're probably trying to buy low, sell high. And when I say buy low, like a draft pick and then sell for money. So that is kind of the MLS way right now is if you can produce guys to go overseas, then you take that money. But I kind of wish they would have given him a little bit more time, but it worked out perfectly for us.
Feels like a little bit of a Kip Keller type situation where he just but on a different level that it just kind of didn't. Anyway, Pete had a question.
Oh, God.
Well, regarding Becher, I really was just going to talk about that stat, right? It felt like he came on at the end of the game and was like a guaranteed goal, like when he first appeared. I think that first game, his first goal, that was his only touch. Or no, sorry, it was his first touch.
Yeah,
of his career was his goal. And then after that, it was just like goal, goal, goal. Really strange. And I mean, it's not like his scoring completely dried up after that either, but that seems like something that City can really use in spades right now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a guy, and if you think about it, you guys know this is sports as well. It's a lot of mental stuff. So he got called up at the end of 2022, literally played in 1 game, which is fine. Like that's just to get you integrated. The next season, and when he scored those 4 goals, he played in 19 games, but he only started 5 of them. And if you're not consistently seeing the field and you don't know when you're going to come in, and then obviously as a forward, you're coming in last 10 minutes and coach is like, go get me a goal. And if you don't, then you go back to the bench. It's very tough, I would say, for him to consistently find that rhythm. But when he did, he was absolutely dominating on the field. And I think that's an exciting presence that we need for City right now. Obviously, we've struggled to score goals, struggled to win games, and it's going to be a tough kind of end of the season here, but it's a great pickup looking forward.
What was he doing over in like what did his stats look like in the Danish Superliga?
Yeah, so when he went over there, I think they were already mid-season. So he had 3 goals in 14 games played. He was averaging 82 minutes a game though, so he was a consistent player for them. So now that we've signed him from them through June of 2025 with a purchase option through the end of 2026, and then with club options for 2027 and 2028. And a very weird thing, money kind of fun fact about this is that if we buy him from the Danish league, then we'd actually have to give the FC Whitecaps 20% of I guess the Danish league would have to give the FC Whitecaps 20% of what we paid because there's a buy on or sell on clause to where if you loan a guy out and then he gets bought, you can recoup some of that money. So the money is kind of coming back around into the MLS. But I mean, when he's over there, 3 goals, 14 games, not half bad. I would say when you look at that for a full MLS season, that's looking like 7 or 8 goals. That's consistent contribution from a guy that's not expected to be your number 1 striker.
There's girl math, boy math, and MLS math.
Tam, I still don't even get it, dude.
How do you guys like? That was my next question: is how the hell do you guys keep up with the money?
I can send you a spreadsheet I tried to make because I try to get nerdy with it. Because I'm like, how much money do we have when we're looking? Because I tried to do it in December after our first, or like I guess before the season started. But then there's things that you're not allowed to know. Like you get additional allocation money when you're expansion for your first 2 years. You don't know how much that is. I think one of the teams that became an expansion, I think it might have been maybe Charlotte. They got $5 million back in 2020. So I'm like, do I just add inflation? I have no clue. So I made this like huge spreadsheet tracking everybody's salaries. I get to the end of it and there's just no answer.
It's strange. I think from my standpoint, it's like I almost just don't care about the money. I just look at this like, okay, we added Becher on loan from AC Horsens through June 2025, and then have a purchase option to keep him through the end of 26 with club options in 27, 28, right? So I'm like, so there's the time frame. That's more what I'm worried about, right? Like the nerds will figure out the money and make that work. I can't do it.
And the money kind of figures itself out, right? I think when you see, we just signed Marcel Hartel, who is technically the most expensive player on our team, and he's worth the most as well. When you look at that, when it comes to transfer market and kind of what they kind of fair value these guys. So I would say we still have the money. And if you look at our budget, I want to say we're basically on a shoestring. We're in the bottom three, I believe, in the whole MLS. So the money is there. It will come. Obviously, we don't have the funding like you get from an LAFC, LA Galaxy, Miami, but I mean, if it can get me guys like Simon Becher on a budget like that, and you have a guy like Lutz that can really find some diamonds in the rough in Europe, let's go for it.
Anyone who's seen Draft Day knows that just Jennifer Garner will figure it out. She'll figure out the money.
That's Caroline Kindle Betts.
So do you think this really complicated finance structure in MLS is good for the league, or would you rather see kind of just an open market like in the European leagues?
I think, well, I would say maybe this. I don't personally prefer it because it is so confusing. I have a feeling that they're sticking with this because it still is a league that is growing. And I think adding this money to essentially buy down a player's contract so it doesn't hit the salary cap then helps teams grow. So I think as we're growing this league still, I think it is good for the league right now in the base. But as it progresses and we start getting guys like obviously Marco Royce is coming over here. I know Gareth Bale came over. You had Beckham. You had some of the guys towards the end. Olivier Giroud still has time on his career. Messi is obviously still killing it. Just won the World Cup. Just won the Copas. It's like we are starting to get guys we're starting to move that age a little younger or earlier into their career. So I would say right now, as they're still trying to grow that, yeah, it's probably good. But I would really love for that to tail off once we've kind of established ourselves as a actual reputable league.
I feel like we did a disservice to our Lord and Savior Patrick Schulte by saving the best for last. We'll call it. We'll spin it that way. But the Olympics are coming up, and we've covered it before on our show. It bears repeating. St. Louis's own Patrick Schulte is looking to be the starting goalkeeper for the United States.
Yes, he will for sure be the starting goalkeeper. There's another guy named like Gaga, but I think he's literally like 18. Like Patrick Schulte is literally on the up and up right now. When you look about this, when he got drafted, same draft class up there. So he was Isaiah Parker from SLU was number 3 in 2022, Keller 5, Patrick Schulte 12, Simon Becher 16. So SLU had 4 of the top 16 players in the 2022 draft. After he was drafted, he went to the MLS Next Pro, won the goalkeeper of the year. The next year, which was last season, leads Columbus to the MLS Cup.
He won the MLS Next Cup his first year.
Also true. He won the MLS Next Cup and goalkeeper of the year, then won the MLS Cup. And it was insane. And the fact that when he's starting 31 games for them last season, he only allowed 43 goals against and 90 saves. So that's like a 68% save rate. Seems incredible. It's like, 68% doesn't seem that high. Only allowing 43 goals in 31 games. Imagine if City could do something like that. That's like one every other game. You're giving up 2 goals. Otherwise, you're giving up 1 goal. That puts you in a much better driver's seat. And yes, Columbus is a great team, but Patrick Schulte was standing on his head.
I was reading U.S. Soccer subreddit, and they were talking about the starting goalkeeper at the Olympics. And somebody posted that it was some advanced save stat. You can maybe clarify, but Patrick Schulte is the best goalkeeper we have in the national team system right now. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to be honest with you. There's not a doubt in my mind. He's going to be the goalkeeper of the World Cup.
I think that is a great take. That was a take that I was also going to go with as well. I was looking that up this season as well. So what he's done on his up and up. He debuted for the U.S. men's national team on January 20th against Slovenia in a friendly. We lost 1-0. He just didn't get any help there. I would say he just won the Champions Cup Best Goalkeeper Award for the Champions Cup that just happened earlier this season. And then when you look at market value, yes, Matt Turner's worth $7 million right now. They only have Patrick Schulte at 3.5, but that is worth both more than Horvath and Sean Johnson, the backups for Matt Turner right now combined. They're worth at 2.8, and we have him at Patrick Schulte at 3.5. I don't know why he hasn't already been in the main U.S. men's national team squad. I don't know what we're doing trying to hold on to Horvath and Sean Johnson. This is Patrick Schulte's to lose. I love that he's getting an opportunity to go over to to the Olympics. It is going to be a different team. Obviously, it's the 99% of the guys are not our main guys. Walker Zimmerman is the only guy that I have good faith in over the age of 23 for that role. A lot of these other guys, I don't really recognize the names, but I'm excited that he's actually getting a chance to do this and possibly win a gold medal. That would be huge.
How long do you think it is that he'll actually still be in MLS?
Yeah, because we're going to the Cincinnati Columbus Hell is Real rivalry on September 14th to see Kip Keller and Patrick Schulte play.
Okay, it's just tough, fellas, because if you think about this is like the meat of the time when these Europeans are starting to look over here like, wow, that guy's incredible. We could sign him in their off season, comes over as a full season. My worry with all of that is really looking back at Zach Steffen. Obviously, he was kind of like in a similar situation as Patrick Schulte. Gets bought by Man City, doesn't play, barely plays for a full season, gets loaned out to Middlesbrough, and I forgot wherever else he went. And then he just falls off, and you don't really hear about him. Now he's on the Colorado Rapids, but does nothing with the U.S. men's national team. If he gets bought and goes over there, I think it would be a great opportunity for him, but you got to get the minutes. If you're this young and you're this talented, the MLS, like I said, it's an up-and-coming league. Obviously, we're nowhere near one of the top leagues in the world, but if you're getting minutes and you're playing, it's only improving him and his confidence. And if he wants to go further and play for the U.S. men's national team, I think that's probably the best and safest route, but he wants to be the best soccer player of all time or what he can be from a goalkeeper standpoint. He's going to learn a lot more overseas, but he's got to get the time.
It's very much you look at the goalkeepers throughout the years. I mean, Howard played forever. Guzan played forever. Goalkeeping is an old man's position, and it's like you talk about like the indoor soccer, right? Even because I mean that's the one thing to run pro level I have intimate experience with is like nobody wanted a first year goalkeeper in the indoor league. They want like the 5, 10, 15-year veteran.
It's the way you see it, and you guys know Tim Kelly from Gallagher too. I mean, he's still got it. He's a guy that's been around. It's more. It doesn't have to be pure athleticism or size. It's kind of what you can do, and once you can read the ball, you can get an earlier step. One of my favorite facts. You know how old Gigi Buffon was when he retired, the Italian national goalkeeper? 53. Yeah, he was 45 years old. Like he has to be in a wheelchair at this point. Like after diving and hitting your hips that hard, but like. Think about that. What? Patrick Schulte's 23, I think.
Yeah.
He can go for another 22 years.
That's crazy. Let's see. So I'm going to let you guess my favorite fun fact about the USA jerseys in this tournament. I'm really just making that very easy for you. Am I not? No, they won't have the US soccer crest on them. This is the one thing that confuses everybody every year. Everybody asks why we have USA on the jersey instead of the U.S. soccer crest, because the Olympic Committee does not allow you to wear
really?
Yeah. So if you look at the women's will say U.S. The women's and men's will say USA where the crest would be.
I'm excited to watch it. I did not notice that. I was kind of laughing at if you've seen the graphics they put out. It's like everybody's commenting like, "Oh, I didn't know this game was being played in heaven." It's like. Cloudy background with gold writing, and the guys are standing there with like a half smile, and like that's the only thing I've seen so far. But I'm excited for them. I didn't really realize it. I mean, I did, but I didn't put it together. Our first game is versus France, and obviously that's a home game for them. So I saw that Lacazette was talking about that, and I'm like, oh boy. I mean, this first game is gonna be huge. I think France is one of either tied for or second in the odds right now to win it.
Well, there's a Lacazette on the team.
Really?
Yeah, Alexandre Lacazette.
Oh, he's on the team? So he's one of their only guys. I mean, he's
is he
upper 30s?
I thought it was a child. I thought it was his kid or something, or like a nephew.
You get what, 3 players over 23?
Yeah, but I didn't know that you would just like go. That'd be like us throwing like Tim Ream on that squad.
Well, they did that whatever 4 years ago.
Yeah, because Lacazette was born in 91, so he's 33. It's
oh my god!
It's like getting
this
a guy
is just
that's
weird.
Mid like 26. Like we threw Walker Zimmerman on there. I think he's probably like 26, but
he's
like 33. Interesting.
He's 2 years younger than me.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he's definitely not off of it either. Yeah, France Olympic team. So he's. I mean, for anybody that's listening doesn't know, he was on Lyon from 2010 2017, played for Arsenal from 2017 to 2022, and then back to Lyon. He has 64 appearances for them and 46 goals. The man still got it.
Yeah.
But you have no Mbappe on this team.
No.
They didn't take Mbappe as an overage player.
No, I would say if you're any of these guys, Lacazette makes sense because he's too old to make the actual national team. no one's going from the Euros to the Olympics.
It's a home tournament too. So right. give him the retirement. You know.
Little send off. The 1 year, it's like when you go in the NBA and you announce your retirement a year early and you get the goodbyes from everybody at your last stadium.
The group will be New Zealand, France, and Guinea. Like I said, no Mbappe. It's going to be exciting. They open up tomorrow at noon, I think, on the Peacock.
That's what and maybe someone told me this earlier. I did not realize that you had events before the opening ceremony.
Yeah, it's always soccer. Soccer always kicks off. And you've got rugby also, and then archery is the next day. Don't ask me why I know all this off the top of my head.
Wait, so the U.S. plays tomorrow at 2 p.m.?
I guess it's 2. I thought it was noon. 2 tomorrow. Saturday's noon. Sorry.
I am so glad we're talking about this, fellas. I would have absolutely just been like, oh, it must be Saturday. I didn't think, I mean, I guess soccer's not the big watching one for the Olympics. Wow, that's awesome.
When we say tomorrow, are we talking about tomorrow
today.
As people listen, or tomorrow
today?
Okay.
The game will be today at 2 p.m.
Okay.
Which unfortunately, I will get this out about 1 p.m. tomorrow. Maybe
you're too late. You're too late.
I know. So I will try to get this out tonight. Justin, for all the crossover Billiken City fans who would like to find your podcast, your Twitter account, let everybody know where they can get to you.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram, X, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere at BallWatchingSTL. We're just trying to it's not just only about City. I think we keep it very, very light. If you want, we'll try to keep up with the Olympics, obviously Leagues Cup and things coming up of that nature. And we just try to keep it pretty fun and light. Something very easy. We're not your guy that's taken an hour and a half to dissect an hour and a half soccer game. We're looking for a quick 30, 40 minutes, get in, get out. So if you enjoy it, go to @BallWatchingSTL.
Cool. Justin, it was great catching up with you. Great to see you, man. I'm glad the podcast is doing well, and it was great talking to you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks a lot.
See ya. New Billiken alert on the side of women's basketball. Jakara Brown, Pete, tell the people about her.
Yeah, last time we recorded, Coach Tillett had just tweeted out her signature Billiken en route, or en route, however you like to say it, en route signature tweet whenever we get a commitment. That was last Tuesday evening. And we got the answer on Sunday as to who it was. Brown is a 5'10" combo guard from Legacy Early College High School in Greenville, South Carolina. She plays AAU for Upward Stars, which is an Adidas 3 Stripes AAU program. Really impressive passer and ball handler. She's a good 3-point shooter. She can really heat up. There have been AAU games where she'll hit like 4 in a row and kind of put the game out of hand. But she does score on all 3 levels. She's hard to stop in transition, quick hands on defense, creates a lot of steals. She's physical, energetic, a smart all-around player. She's got really good size for a guard. She'll be able to handle the physical side of the college game right away. She chose SLU over offers from UMass, Tulsa, Appalachian State, NCA&T, and Presbyterian. May have had a couple other offers from before. She visited Wake Forest, East Tennessee State, Mercer, a few other places as well. So it seems like Tillett is recruiting the Southeast, where she's pretty comfortable with before. And a lot of these programs are schools that she would have run into a lot over the years on the recruiting trail. But Yeah, really interesting looking player who I think is going to fit in for sure. She likes physical, tough guards, and I think Brown is no exception.
Pete, looking at the baseball diamond, we've got some incoming transfers. These have kind of trickled in more so than a real big announcement of a full class. It's kind of interesting how that's worked. First one is Riley Ifrig, originally from Edwardsville, Illinois. He's transferring from Indiana State. He will be a sophomore. He made 6 starts and 10 overall appearances last season. Hendrickson likes his defense and said he's a middle of the lineup batter.
Yeah, and then we've got Justin Lee coming in from Middle Tennessee State, right-handed pitcher, originally from Mount Juliet, Tennessee. He'll be a junior. He made 42 appearances in 2 seasons at MTSU, and Hendo expects him to contribute right away in the rotation.
Carl Relam, redshirt sophomore, right-handed pitcher from Vegas. He attended Rice and Coastal Carolina, both very proud baseball programs. Appeared in 10 games at Rice as a freshman and started 3, but didn't appear in any games at Coastal. Hendo expects significant innings out of him, and he said he's, physically strong and throws hard. Pete, I'm really upset right now, and I'll tell you why. Because you get to give this next one. This is super interesting.
It is, but before I want to give this one, those 3 that we just went over, along with Joe Connolly, who we announced last week when he had committed, those were all announced officially by the school, which means they've signed. These next 2 are commitments that I don't think have officially signed yet, so we're going to get at least one more press release from SLU Baseball. But the first one, Zach, like you said, very interesting. Aman Khan, a 6'5", 205-pound right-handed pitcher from Chicago. He throws 94, pitched for the Pakistani national team at the 2022 World Baseball Classic qualifiers when he was just 16 years old. He had committed to a lower division school in the Chicago area. How do you say this?
Lenore Ryan.
Lenore? Is it
Lenore Ryan? Yeah.
But reopened his recruitment. He must have caught wind that he was a higher level candidate, even though I know baseball is a little trickier in that regard. But yeah, really, really unique background there.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. I love anybody who plays at a national level for their country.
Yeah, me too. Oh, by the way, Lenore Ryan is in North Carolina. I was sorry, that's not a Chicago school. I misspoke.
Unbelievable, Pete.
Yeah, I did. Forgive me.
Richie Simprick. That's kind of funny that his name begins and ends with C's and they both sound different. I thought that was kind of weird.
Do we know that?
I have no idea. I'm guessing.
Simprich, maybe it's like a Eastern European.
It probably is, and I probably screwed it up. And now I look stupid. He's a grad transfer from Seton Hall. 6'7", right-handed pitcher, originally from Baymont, New York. He started out at Hillsborough Community College. He had a 3.68 ERA in 22 innings pitched last season.
Yeah, so we lost a lot to the portal, Zach, but it seems like there are a lot of nice pieces coming in, and hopefully Hendo can get these guys back up in the mix for the top of the conference again.
Man, I would really love to kind of understand how Hendrickson recruits, because I don't know.
I think it really comes down to opportunity.
Yeah,
and we've had plenty of guys drafted.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's one of those things like, hey, where you might be at Seton Hall or Coastal Carolina or any number of these other schools where maybe the facilities are a little nicer, or in some cases the weather's a little better, or it's closer to home. But we need a right-handed starter now. And if you want to get drafted, we've got plenty of guys who have been drafted lately. So I don't know. I think it really comes down to opportunity. Some guys like the underdog bunker mentality too.
The funny thing is I do agree and meant it in some way like that. But I also just meant, like, how do you find these guys? What's the process even?
I mean, like, especially because, like, think of how overwhelming the transfer portal is for basketball.
Oh,
right? Like, it's up around 2,000 a year now, and baseball rosters are so much bigger. They're
Has
so much
anyone
bigger, and players are from all over the place.
has anyone made sure that like the transfer portal doesn't crash? What would happen?
I want to see the transfer portal like server farm. That's just a gigantic like Amazon warehouse
A
size
ton of
building.
fans, just filled with fans and servers.
It's on its own energy grid.
It's like the computer and Eagle Eye.
I've never seen Eagle Eye.
Was Shia LaBeouf in oh god.
Sorry.
What's her name? Oh goodness. It doesn't matter. Anyway,
Haven't seen it.
well, Billiken fans, that's gonna do it for us. Like and subscribe, comment on YouTube, and thanks everybody for listening. Pete, go Bills.
Go Bills.